Welcome back, YouTubers, to my channel. If you're new to my channel right now, I welcome you with open arms. My name is AspieAnswersAll. I'm all about creating mental health awareness versus just sharing my life stories with Asperger's syndrome, OCD, depression, and the like, as well as just sharing everyday topics as a motivator, educational kind of resource tool, if you want to call me that, as well as just, someone for support when you need someone to talk to, or just someone to maybe voice out some of the everyday topics that may come into play of what we struggle, and hopefully that it'll be user friendly enough to understand each other and connect one way or another, because it's all about on my channel just being friendly enough and actually supportive enough, because we all need help one way or another. It's all about understanding different people with different needs, and hopefully meeting those needs regardless what it may be. And hopefully that with some of the things I share, even though beyond mine, there's some of it, is based on my life experiences versus just, experiences in general of what I've been through, as well as versus my training, what I've done last year in 2015, 14, roughly. I'm trying to recall right now, about basically doing certain topics that will come into play basically through that training, hopefully, and some of it will be of value, information for you all to share with your family, friends, co-workers and the like. But bear in mind also, even if I am no medical doctor, I'm just your normal everyday person that I'm sharing my life stories. If you feel that some of the signs and symptoms that I share doesn't, or shall we say does ring true to you, seek medical help, or seek medical help for that person that you may be concerned about, that may show that classic signs and symptoms I'm sharing, as well as maybe second opinion, because I humbly apologise in advance, as I said, because I'm no medical doctor. I'm just sharing what I've experienced versus what I've been through, and hopefully that it will be basically come into play one way or another. So I don't want to do, guys, before I run out of time, basically, if you haven't been following me right now, this is basically addressed on the sensory processing disorders series, basically, that will break down onto hopefully 4 parts, really short and brief ones, basically on what it is, but versus the causes, the disorder, certain subtypes of the classifications of sensory processing disorders, the treatments and therapies versus, also just, the signs and symptoms. So without further ado, guys, this is hopefully the last one, which is part 4, which should be by all means. And obviously this is all about the different treatments and therapies out there. As we know that some of these treatments and therapies for certain topics I've addressed so far in the past, regardless for this case, sensory processing disorder versus all these other mental health awareness series, if you've been following me on those parts of the videos, may help some but not all. As I said, you can choose one that you may feel comfortable with doing, and then continue it as a progression, not just giving up after maybe a day or two thinking, oh, this is not for me, because it takes time of certain effects to look after ourselves and well-being of whatever it is to come. So in all further ado, basically, just keep trying, and you never know, you might be able to find ways to manage and maintain what you go through in your life. So in all further ado, before I run out of time, as I said, these are the treatments and therapies that are involved in sensory processing disorders. And at the moment, there has been different, treatments and therapies that are readily available for us all. But it's just a matter of, as again, finding the right one that will suit us and, make us be able to manage and maintain everything. Number 1 is your EEG recording. Okay, even though this was supposed to be based under my causes, but I'll bring it out now. Your EEG, okay, what involves in it is the differences in tactile and auditory over responsibly show moderate genetic influences, with tactile over responsibly demonstrating greater heritability. Bavariate genetic analysis suggested different genetic faces for individual differences in auditory and tactile SOR. Number 2, people with SPD have less sensory gating, which is your electrophysiology, which means just that, electromagnetic situation in the brain of the, electrical chemicals versus your electrical impulses in the brain of your neurotransmitters, sending messages to different parts of the brain of, once you have the input of sensory information that's been fed through, of what you've perceived versus example of what you see in the light versus what have you, and it will just send certain messages to help it than your typical subject. Okay, also basically on that though, for this treatment, as we know, there has been so many that has been developed to treat sensory processing disorder, but bear in mind, like I said, with most disorders as well as just any mental health, conditions, I'll put it as that, not mental health illness, because I'm going to get slapped again most likely. But what I'm saying here is, like, it is not always the right one for most of us. They're just, again, seeking the right ones. Okay, so the first one, obviously, in my listings to talk to you about is your sensory interrogation therapy. Okay, so basically what it involves is basically it's a vestibular system which is simulated through hanging equipment such as, your tie swings. Main form of sensory integration therapy is a type of occupational therapy that places a child in a room specifically designed to stimulate and challenge all of the everyday 5 classic senses that we have. During the session, though, the therapist will work closely with the child as well as maybe the parent to provide a level of sensory stimulation that the child can cope with and encourage movement within the room. Sensory interrogation therapy is driven by 4 main principles, which is as follows. Number 1, it will just challenge the child must be able to successfully meet the challenges that are presented through these playful activities that they're engaging in, be it, for example, as I said, the tire swing maybe. Number 2, adaptive response. This means basically the child will have to adapt to his or her behaviour with new and useful strategies in response to the challenges that are presented yet again. Number 3, active engagement. This means basically the child obviously participates or wants to participate in an everyday activity that you're bringing up with them, be it, playing a sport of some kind, be it like you may be playing one-on-one soccer with them. And then the reason why they won't want to participate, obviously, some of the activities you bring out may be fun for them. Obviously, you've got to remember to make things fun, obviously, for the little kids. Number 3, child-directed. Obviously, the child's preferences are used to initiate this kind of therapeutic experience within the session that they're having with that kind of, therapist at that time. Sensory processing therapy, okay, is number 2 I'm bringing up. This therapy retains all of the above that has mentioned about the 4 principles, as well as these add-ons that I'm going to address to you. Okay, basically, for this one of the sensory processing, it includes the following. Your intensity, which basically on this intensity is people that are attending these certain therapy sessions, regardless what it may be, daily for a prolonged period of time. Okay, and number 2 is your developmental approach. Obviously, for this to occur, for number 2, is your therapist will adapt to the development age of that person against the actual age of the person. So first, young versus old, or young versus middle age, whatever it may be. Number 3, tertiary systemic evaluation. Okay, this basically involves number 3. How to word this nicely? Basically, it's just like a before and after test. So they'll check up on you, what you were like before you were engaging in these everyday activities of the first one I don't address to you all versus, after what happens. Number 4, process driven versus activity driven. Okay, what I mean here is meaning that for the therapist that's working along with you on this, they will focus on the just right emotional connection and the processes that reinforces the relationship, between you and the therapist versus just the environment you're in and everything else with your classic senses. Okay, 5 is your parent education. Okay, parent education sessions are usually, scheduled into these therapy classes or processes also. Okay, number 7, joie de vivre, which means happiness of life, which is a therapy, which obviously is the therapy's main goal there, is attained through social participation, self-regulation, and self-esteem. Number 8, last but not least, combination of best practice intentions is often accompanied by integrated listening system therapy, floor time, and electronic media such as your Xbox, PlayStation, Kinect, Nido, Wii, Makito, 2-machine training, and many others that engage with the child and the therapist of, just keeping themselves busy, so to speak, because many of the people, as we know, with sensory processing disorders, as I said, depending on the subtypes that I shared with you all, will need to, keep themselves busy regardless what it is. Okay, another one is basically, and the other methods though, some of these treatments, for example, sensory motor handling, which is basically all about, how you handle your motor skills and stuff, and how you handle certain everyday situations through that sensory input versus your sensory output. Basically, it has a questionable rational and our empirical evidence. Other treatments, for example, like your prism lenses, your physical exercises, and auditory and integration training, have had studies with small positive outcomes, but few conclusions can be made about them to methodological problems within those studies. Although replicable treatments have been described and valid outcome measures are known, gaps exist in knowledge related to sensory integration and dysfunction in therapy. Empirical support is limited, therefore systemic evaluation has to be, needed in this part. So interventions may also have to be used in this part as well. Children with hyperreactivity, as I said, may be exposed to strong sensations such as stroking with a brush, vibrations or rubbing. Play may involve a range of materials to stimulate these senses such as Play-Doh or finger painting. Children with hyperactivity may have trouble calming down prior to going to sleep, so exposing the child to peaceful activities such as quiet music, gentle rocking, yoga or deep breathing in a softly lit room can help calm them and ease them to sleep. This can help some of these stuff that I'm saying about these treatments for adults as well, which will be addressing the adult side of the sensory processing disorder in just a tick. Treats and rewards may be used to encourage children to tolerate the activities that they normally will avoid at all costs, regardless what it may be, The occupational therapist uses a sensory integration frame and reference work on increasing the child's ability to obviously, adequately process the sensory input, as well as just other functions as always, as well as just focusing on the accommodation, environmental accommodations that the parents, and school staff can use to enhance its child's function at home, school, and in the community. These may include selecting soft tech-free clothing, avoiding fluorescent lighting, and providing earplugs for emergencies such as, fire drills. Okay, now into the adults' treatments, however, there has been growing evidence base that points to and supports the notion that adults also show signs of sensory processing difficulties. Who knew? It may start as a child, it may start as an adult. Will vary from time to time, but most things, as always, should show signs and symptoms usually in young kids' life. Okay, in the UK, however, or United Kingdom, early research and improved clinical outcomes for clients access basically as having sensory processing indicates that the therapy may be an appropriate treatment. The adult client, however, may show a range of presentations including autism and Asperger's syndrome, as well as developmental coordination disorders and some mental health difficulties. Therapists suggest that these presentations may arise from the difficulties adults with sensory processing difficulties may encounter to try and negotiate the challenges and demands of engaging in everyday life, regardless what it may be. It's important when treating adults, though, not only to focus upon, sensory regulation, but to also help them develop and maintain social support systems in place. Adults who have sensory over-responsive has very high correlative anxiety and depression levels compared to adults who don't have sensory over-responsiveness. This is correlated to the perceived absence of social supporters. Sensory processing disorders can also be correlated with sleep quality in adults. This correlation can be seen especially in adults who have low neurological thresholds, sensory sensitivity, and sensory avoidance. These individuals are more sensitive to tactile, auditory, and visual stimuli, which often impacts the quality of sleep. Well, basically that ends the last part of what I hope to address to you all on the treatments of sensory processing disorder. Give me a like for thumbs up for support. Comment below if I missed anything, or comment below that you may, think will be relevant to these series that will be of help to others to hopefully understand each of us. Feel free to subscribe to my channel for the weekly daily vlogs. Also feel free to share these to your family, friends, and whoever else you feel to address to these all, so that we can use these as educational and motivational tools regardless of what I mean. Thanks for support, thanks for watching. Do what you love what you do, love one another, love yourself. Until next time, have a great day. I'll see you all again soon.